Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
From the Talks and Tasting Studio, this is a Clerical Errors Podcast, a show that shows you
what's behind the collar.
I'm Bullhagen.
I'm Berg.
And I'm Vicar.
Welcome to the show. Berg, you've been busy.
I have been.
Yeah, we've kind of hinted at this a little bit in the show, but you have not been on to tell everyone on the podcast your news.
Yes.
There's been an elephant in the room.
Indeed, a white elephant. So, I have accepted a call to serve at Trinity Lutheran Church and School as an associate pastor and headmaster of their classical Lutheran school. So,
where's that at?
Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Oh. So we'll have a second.
Yeah, Wyomingite.
Right. So what does this mean for the show? This means for the show is we're still doing it. Right?
Yeah, put some more money in and we can we have a Patreon.
Swipe the credit card a couple more times.
So I mean, we're going to keep it going, and the plan is right now to have you on
twice a month.
So, because I notice when you're not on, the downloads are lower.
Oh.
So, we kind of need you, not to pressure you or anything.
There's great chemistry here.
We talked about last time about how the podcast may have gotten Peter some job opportunities.
Oh, yeah?
Because whenever he interviewed, they wanted to talk about the podcast a little bit.
Nice. Living the
so
dream.
I'm wondering if this had anything.
It's true. I mean, we're pretty rad.
In Wyoming, they're like, well, we had this guy. We heard a podcast.
It's true.
And what are you drinking there, Berg?
Well, I decided to pregame this, so, for the audience, I took one for the team here. This is, Vicar actually brought this. This is a Leinenkugel's Toasted Bock. So, it's pretty rad. Vicar, you're doing great. And then we need some, Bullhagen brought an amazing bottle, which I hope he shares with the rest of the class.
Right, because we're going to try and do 2 episodes. And is this going to be your last time in studio?
Unless you guys pay to fly me back.
So I wanted to get something good. So, not the last time on the podcast, people.
Right, just in studio.
So I got
for now.
Yes, for now. Maybe we'll all just move out to Wyoming and,
Yeah.
enjoy freedom there.
Yeah, because probably it'll be less nuclear fallout out there.
Yeah. Vicar, what are you drinking?
Well, I've yet to open it, but I've got a Exile Brewing Company, a Ruthie Gold Lager.
And I have some Añejo tequila.
What was that, Peter?
I was going to say, you mentioned he had something nice there, but not what it was, so.
Yeah.
FYI, I've got Crown Apple and Sprite.
Living the dream.
Oh, did you want some, Vicar?
I'll drink this beer.
Okay.
I've been, re-listening to a lot of country music here lately, so.
Trying to fit in,
and there's this song, which is pretty terrible, but it's about tequila, right, which we're drinking right now. And do you know what I'm talking about there, Vicar?
It has a side effect. Is that what you're talking about?
It does have a side effect, right?
That one or the new one? There's a new tequila song, too.
No, really? Oh, man.
I think so.
I hate modern country. I mean, give me the country of,
Johnny Cash?
Well, and even, early 90s and back.
Right.
Or
my Uncle Garth.
Yeah. I mean, Beaches of Cheyenne, it's amazing. Or I Can Still Make Cheyenne, awesome. So.
Yeah, because it's almost the same music as pop music with a twang.
Today, yeah.
If you just sing it with a twang, it's country.
Well, and a lot of them. Well, with the exception of, the Zac Brown Band, Eric Church, I think has some really, kind of rustic sounds.
Who's a guy with a really grovelly voice? He's pretty good. Anyways.
But, I mean, when Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish, also a.k.a. Darius Rucker, started singing country, I mean, it's a pretty big cross. But, Johnny Cash also was kind of a paradigm shifting figure too in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, he was.
So, I mean, can't judge too harsh. So,
Well, I am not quite done with this, but I have something for you. All right.
is it a cake CD?
No, well, this is a hot tune that's coming out of the Clerical Airs record company.
Okay.
And what I've done is I'll give you I'm not done with it yet. We're working on it, but I have a sneak peek for you
Oh boy.
of something that we've been working on. You want to hear it?
I do want to hear it.
All right, here we go. Oh, yeah.
Don't sleep on me when I'm up on my rave. Can't you see it's your soul that I'm trying to save? You may be wondering how it is that I'm so brave. 'Cause I can drive off of my payback, pure conclave. Don't sleep on me when I'm on my rave. Can't you see it's your soul that I'm trying to save? Now you may wonder how it is that I'm so brave. 'Cause I can drive off of my payback, pure conclave.
Okay, so for some of the listeners,
They have to decide, are they going to invest or not?
yeah, for the listeners here, can you, Vicar, you want to tell them, give them some context here of what was
Look.
what was that all about?
Well, we had this preacher we listened to. It was a vicar don't do that.
Wow. Yeah, he's showing me the lyrics here, and
The lyrics are courtesy of actually Peter. I'm adding some street cred to it. Peter, what do you think of that intro so far?
Could use some better mixing, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, I'll give you
But
that.
not bad, not bad.
so this hymn of the Christian faith will be ready to download in the near future. So where can they maybe either purchase this as an MP3 or
I'm not sure if we're gonna ready to purchase this yet.
Really? We're not.
Once it comes out, maybe we'll put it on Spotify.
Right.
Okay.
I will. Maybe we can make this available for a ringtone.
Hey, I would actually, I don't know how to do that from my phone, but I would definitely get that.
Yeah. So it was the episode 2 weeks ago that really struck a chord. The Vicar don't do this, where someone noticed that I and Vicar were like, don't do this, and Berg was, this is awesome.
Yes, it's true. So yeah, hey, there's some real magic going on here, right? So people should actually donate,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, what other podcast is going to give you what I just gave you?
None that I can think of.
Right.
So,
I think that's the music you want to roll up in Cheyenne, playing out of
hey,
your trunk.
if it's ready in like 2 weeks, I am,
Right.
The new pastor.
Actually,
And once
more
that
like
Wyoming
three,
money
you know.
once that Wyoming money rolls in, you will have an enclave, won't you?
It's true. 10-gallon hat, sunglasses.
So yeah, it's a good time for us to kind of have a lighthearted. It's not been a very lighthearted day for the news.
No. No. So, yeah.
So because all that, I'm gonna start. I'm with this mind frame. I'm gonna hear the text, because I'll be honest, I was gonna work on the sermon today, but I chose to work on a rap instead. So,
I mean, like, are we actually surprised at this point? I mean,
look, you taught me in this podcast the importance of leisure.
it's true. And you succeeded. I mean, you produced something that's pretty good. So, yeah.
You really think it's pretty good?
I do. Like, it's are there improvements that could be made? I think so, but and I think Peter thought so, but honestly, I mean, who else has done that?
Right.
I mean, most people I'm getting so sick of these kids, with their video games and that sort of stuff. It's amazing. And I know it's a little out of date, but that whole Minecraft thing,
Yeah.
so these kids can spend hours and hours building this, fictional world. but like they half-heartedly sweep the floor. So I mean, you actually did something real, right? I mean, that's awesome. So I wish more people would do real stuff.
So what is our text? What are you preaching on? I'm preaching on, Vicar.
Well, it's from Luke chapter 18.
Oh, by the way, I have something to say. I have a question for the guys before you get into that.
Okay.
Has anybody actually told Hannah you're moving?
Well, she just found out right now. So, surprise.
I'm sure it came up in the last producers meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a
Yeah.
thing?
Every single meeting we talk about you, actually, Berg.
I know.
Every meeting we've had, we talk exclusively about you.
My ears are burning most of the time, so I understand.
Boy, this is smooth. I like this.
It is. You should, red Solo cup.
Yeah, we're drinking this fancy tequila out of
Your clothes are
Red Solo
staying
cups.
on, Berg.
Is that a Toby Keith song?
Yeah, it is.
All right. What are we preaching on?
The Holy Gospel according to Luke chapter 18. Taking the 12, Jesus said to them, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and everything that is written about the Son of Man by the prophets will be accomplished. For he will be delivered over to the Gentiles, and will be mocked and shamefully treated and spit upon. And after flogging him, they will kill him, and on the third day he will rise." But they understood none of these things. This saying was hidden from them, and they did not grasp what he said. As he drew near to Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. And hearing a crowd going by, he inquired what this meant. They told him, "Jesus of Nazareth is passing by." And he cried out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And those who were in front rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus stopped and commanded him to be brought to him. And when he came near, he asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" He said, "Lord, let me recover my sight." And Jesus said to him, "Recover your sight. Your faith has made you well." And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, gave praise to God.
Well, this is a great text to prepare for Lent, right? Because you good there?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the interlinear stuff. So.
Oh, okay. As Jesus talks about his death, I like the interplay that this text has with the disciples not understanding and the blind man understanding.
Even knowing who he is, Son of David.
Right. Have mercy on me. And this is a great attitude as Jesus approaches his death. What is faith? Faith is
Believing without seeing.
believing and the cry for mercy.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to think of Vicar. Put your thinking cap on. How might this apply if people are concerned about the news, what's happening in Ukraine and all that? How might this apply to that?
Well, right now they'd be crying out to God to have mercy on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And we have two things here that are pretty horrible, right, in this text. What is one? Jesus saying he was going to have to suffer, be flogged, and die,
Spit on.
right? Which led to what? Our redemption. And you had a man who was blind, which led to faith, right?
Yep.
I mean, if he wasn't blind, would he be searching out Christ?
Probably not.
So as people are worried, this is going to be horrible, man, which it could be. Does that mean God isn't still doing his thing?
Nope.
What do you got for us, Berg?
Okay. Well, that was really enthusiastic. So, all right. So you guys haven't had enough tequila to drink yet. So
No.
there you go. So the parallel passage here is Mark 10:46 through 52. And we find out the beggar's name. Do you guys know the beggar's name or the blind man's name?
Bartimaeus?
Bartimaeus. What does Bartimaeus mean? It means honorable son.
Oh,
Think of a way of preaching that, right? Honorable son, right? Because he is honorable in that he gives Jesus the honor that he deserves. He actually gets it, right? When he calls Jesus the son of David, right? He makes the good confession, right? That when you use the word son of David, what are you really referring to? The Messiah, right? And he says, have mercy on me, right? He doesn't just simply ask for his sight to be restored, right? He doesn't say, Jesus, son of David, heal my sight, right?
Yeah,
but
his greater need, understands his greater need.
Right, and he appeals to God's mercy, right? Which is the thing, the one attribute about God that we always need to keep in mind, right? That what is mercy? Mercy is a subspecies of love. It's love towards those who are unlovable, those who cannot help themselves, right? And so Bartimaeus shows himself to be a true son of God by faith, right? Not only in that he believes and he asks, and Jesus says here, your faith has
Made you
You
well.
well.
wrong.
Saved you.
Right? That's the thing. Like, I hate the way they translate this, right? Because it's not just about physical healing here, right?
Right.
It's about salvation,
Salvation.
right? And salvation is both physical and spiritual. And the two here run together, right? Your faith has saved you, right? It's a durative. It's a perfect, right? Which means that it happened and it's continuing to happen. And then what does he do? He gets up and he follows, right? And what's crazy is that the great lesson here, right, is that all these people are telling him to shut up, right? Shut up. You're not worth it. And he keeps crying out. And then what does he do? He joins with the very people who told him to shut up, right?
Right.
I mean, this shows an honorable man, right? An honorable man who forgives the weakness and the sins of, his fellow parishioners and follows Christ, right?
So I have a question. How often does Jesus commend the disciples of their faith?
Not very often. In fact, I can't think of a single instance where,
So do you think, in a way, that Bartimaeus understood Jesus even more than these disciples?
Yeah, and that's why, if I were preaching this text, which I'm not, I'd play off of the name. He is honorable in that he gives Jesus the honor that he deserves, the honor that the disciples didn't give him because they don't understand. They don't understand what he's going to Jerusalem to do. This was hidden from them. This is a judgment against them. And he's a true son. He's a true son of his father of the Father of heaven by faith, right? And so you can talk about, physical blindness versus spiritual blindness and which one is worse. You could play the would you rather game with your congregation, right?
Yeah,
right? Honestly, if you want to be, super high school about it, you could do that.
I'm not super high school, so.
So, pickle jar. So, but you have that. You have the judgment against them and that this thing is hidden from them. You have the issues of, people really stomping on the faith of someone who, is in need of mercy, and yet he believes anyway, right? Which is, I think, a rebuke of all these people who say, I've been so hurt by the church.
Right.
Bartimaeus doesn't care because his eyes are fixed firmly on Jesus.
And Jesus' words really are essentially the same. By saving him, he was really using his death and resurrection. There was no saving without that.
Right.
So it really is the same message in both stories.
Yeah, and I think, too, you can even make a deal between, here Jesus uses Son of Man in the first part, right, when he's talking about his suffering and death, which is bizarre because, it's like your favorite hymn, right, Beautiful Savior, where it says Son of God and Son of Man. But you read the Bible, and in Daniel, the Son of Man is never talking about like the human nature, right? It's always talking about this divine, right? And so I would say that the Son of Man is actually referring to Christ's divinity, where Son of David actually refers way more to his humanity.
Right, king.
Well, and not just king, but that he's physically descended from David through his mother, right? So, yeah, you can do that. You can talk about mercy. You can talk about prayer, right? Christ here is headed to Jerusalem. He's ready to accomplish his great mission. And what does he do? He stops, right? He stands still. And he stands still to listen to this beggar who wants his sight, And I mean, you could ask, well, doesn't Jesus have more important things to do?
No. I mean, that's what he came to do.
Right, but I mean, the way that he accomplishes it is by going to the cross, right?
Right.
So I mean, that's the thing is like Jesus hears prayer. And he doesn't just give us, eternal salvation or spiritual salvation, but he actually takes care of the needs of the body as well.
And I think that's a good lesson for everyone to continue, because we talk about, you got to be strong or this or that, but to actually trust God and trust his will, that he is merciful.
Right. And that's why every service, what do we say? Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Right? We are always referring to God's mercy, right? That is really about the only attribute that we should really cling to, because it's the only attribute that saves us. Right? That he is merciful. And he shows his mercy in Christ Jesus. Now, if you're going to preach this as, since, Ash Wednesday isn't that far away, I mean, you could always preach it as, the journey to Jerusalem, right? We're all on this journey to Jerusalem during this time of Lent over the next 40 days, right? And we're going to see some pretty gnarly things as time goes on.
Right.
And it's going to get more and more intense.
Which is really part of why denying yourself what has been done is it's taken a whole new level where it's mostly not helpful for most people anymore. But because it's like, for Lent, I'm going to give carbs, where Lent is a time to get abs for summer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
fasting is certainly fine outward training, right?
Because, in a sense, what you're doing is you're placing yourself in the place of the blind man. You're placing yourself in a time of want where you maybe understand the grace of God.
Yeah.
More.
And I think that's the thing, is taking things away is definitely a good thing during Lent, right? Jesus says when you fast. I mean, that's what we'll hear for Ash Wednesday, right? Fasting is a good thing. Going without is a good thing. Heck, even the secular people say that going without is a good thing. I mean, they talk about dopamine fasts. I mean, you see that all over the Art of Manliness stuff, that the reason why we're so miserable is because we have too much stuff. And Christianity has just been saying this for 2,000 years.
Right.
I mean, so.
Right.
So, Lent is a great time. I mean, don't just cut out chocolate, but actually cut down meals.
Right.
Right.
And the whole idea of this aspect too is people have lost just living for purpose anymore.
Yeah. Dare I say a purpose-driven life?
Yeah. Go ahead. because with materialism and a lack of a holding of to a real truth, I mean, we're just wandering. We see this when Ukraine is attacked, and well, what do we do? There's just a lostness. At least Putin has a purpose.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that, and this will be a great thing for our next episode when we talk about temptation, right? I mean, because there's a lot of temptation going on right now,
I was telling Vicar, every year I spend more time on the 10 Commandments.
Yep. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just...
with the confirmation kids.
If people actually went hungry, right? If they actually did fasting, right? Actually. Or if you actually gave money to a particular project, right? You actually took it out of your guilt-free spending money, right? And
I was first a pastor. I will say this. There was a difference in that older generation, not quite 25 years ago, where, if you were 90 at that time, you literally did have times where you didn't have anything.
Right.
Where you didn't have food.
Yeah.
Where you actually were worried about.
Where they used lard because they couldn't afford butter,
Right.
Or they used rags to stop up their windows during the Great Depression.
I remember talking to a gentleman who grew up, both his parents died in the flu epidemic.
Oh, yeah. I had a great-great-uncle who died, 20 years old.
And he was talking about when he got married, they had, I think, 2 dairy cows. And their cash for the week was taking the butter into town.
Yeah.
Then they had 10 cents to get the sugar that they needed. And then they usually had another nickel to go to the picture show.
Oh, big spenders.
Right? That was their
Yeah.
life. And he said, and he would say things like, that was the happiest time of our life.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and this is what, like, the Finnish are some of the most happy people on earth, right? And what do?
They finish things.
Ba-dum-tsh. They actually spend a month to 6 weeks.
It's not my strong point, by the way.
Yes. Really? Well, you started this rap. You have to finish it
I have
now.
to finish it now. Yeah.
But the Finnish actually go out and live in a cabin where there's no indoor plumbing, no heating, no nothing, right? And they go do that for like 4 weeks out of the year and rough it. And, you know, part of this is building like resilience. You know, so all of these secular people are saying all this stuff, right? Intermittent fasting is making a comeback, right? For like weight loss and, you know, all this. It's like, oh, maybe the Bible wasn't so dumb. You know,
Right.
Maybe these practices that our fathers had weren't so stupid, you know? And it's kind of amazing that all of this is being, you know, there's an old story, right, where all these scientists are trying to climb the mountain. And, you know, after all of this struggle and all of this strife and, you know, they finally get to the top and they're weary and they're beaten down and they see, you know, a bunch of pastors up there around a campfire. They're like, where have you guys been? You know? Well, I mean, this is the thing is like our fathers are not stupid, right? They knew stuff,
Right.
right? And we should actually have taken some of their stuff seriously. And that's what we're finding out now, right? It's not good to have this super...
I could say, you know, almost 200 funerals into my time here in Hampton, and then many funerals before I even came to Hampton, that I miss. There was a certain wisdom in that because I've basically been a pastor now enough just in town for basically a whole generation.
Right.
You know, where the older folks, I had their funerals. Now I'm burying their children, the next generation, and
Oh, why are you killing your church?
it's not a very good church growth movement.
Exactly.
I'm not working so, but I do miss. There's a lot of wisdom I miss that had a strong effect on the church. So.
Yeah, I agree. You know, so if you haven't, I don't know, should we talk about like what a Lenten fast might be?
Sure,
You
I've
know,
never actually done it before.
Just
I'll
to
be
give,
honest.
just to get, well, you've kind of been under enforced fasting anyways, right?
Right.
You know, I don't know. One thing I think you could do is, you know, cut out all alcohol during the week, with the exception of Sundays. You know, there are different practices that, like, you know, the Roman Catholics, well, they only eat fish on Fridays. But do you actually go to their fish fries?
Yeah, it's not going without.
Yeah, they are not going without, right? I mean, so the whole point is to actually cut down on your meals, maybe even skip a meal, right? And then use that time to contemplate that man does not live by bread alone, right?
I noticed that I don't have breakfast very much because I've noticed I'm actually more productive when I don't have breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what your body does to make that work. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, part of it is like if you make a practice of going out to eat, maybe during Lent you don't, you know, and then you give that money to something else, right? Or you increase your giving, right, to different things or something like that, you know.
I can't remember how it came up, but we were talking about sacrificial giving in the Monday Bible study. And I was talking about how, you know, not here in Hampton, but there's places where people get Starbucks every day for $4 to $6 for their fancy coffee. And if you gave that up for Lent, how much money would that be? You know, you're
Right.
doing without, but you could even give instead. Give that money to the church.
Right. You know, or to a missionary or something along those lines. Or I know Pastor Bullhagen sits on the LHF board, the Lutheran Heritage Foundation. You know, I mean, they do a lot of good work too. So, I mean, what do we have? Because it's Quinquagesima, so 50 days to Easter. Could you imagine if like every day, so the first day, you do $1, right? Day 2, you do $2, right? And you just keep increasing it all the way to Easter, right? I mean, that'd be one way of doing it,
Yeah, and if you get then like each week you have 5 more people give $1, and then the next week they each get 5 more people to give $1.
Right, challenge one another to do it. Like I don't know. My uncle talked about this.
I was trying to do a pyramid scheme here.
Well, well, that's not such a bad deal.
There you go.
Pyramid schemes aren't the worst.
There's the title of the show.
If
Pyramid schemes aren't the worst.
So, I mean, it's funny because my uncle, like at his Wisconsin Synod church,
Yeah.
They actually challenge one another to do that. So,
Pyramid schemes?
not a pyramid scheme, but they actually challenge one another like during Lent and stuff too. So you start off with giving $1. So day 1 you give $1, day 2 you give $2, and then at the end of it you're given so much money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way just to try to be generous, right? To thank God for all the things that He's given to us. So I don't know. I mean, it's an idea, So,
But
we're not binding Okay,
right.
excerpt. We're not binding consciences here, right? No one's saying you have to do this. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Right. We're just giving you ideas to do stuff.
Right.
I'm so sick of people like, it's kind of like the crossing yourself thing. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Holy
Right.
cats. I mean, so anyway, rant over.
Yeah, so the point is not to do it because you're earning righteousness, because it makes you a better person. Do it so that you can hear God's word. more clearly.
Well, and in a way, if you're killing your old man that really wants to go out and get that Starbucks coffee or whatever, it actually is making you a better person because it's killing the old Adam in you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like the old Adam isn't just, gummed to death, right? He's actually crucified. And
Actually, that's one thing that if you've ever heard or talked to someone who is a Orthodox Jew, that they kind of understand a little bit nowadays, where they actually take Saturday and they completely unplug.
yeah.
They don't answer their phone.
Yep, because it's work.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. No, I'm not saying, okay, now Pastor Bullhagen says we should all be Pharisees. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, do you know in New York City they actually have like things hanging overhead, and it shows you how far you can walk on the Sabbath?
Really?
Yeah. So like you can't drive a car if you're a strict Orthodox Jew. Can't answer the phone. You can't turn on a stove because that's work. So they've like invented all these things to like turn on the stove for you. And it's such hypocrisy. I just hate it so much.
But the idea of actually like spending time with your family without any distractions.
Exactly. Well, like this is
That's
why
good.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I actually admire some of the tenets of the Amish because they try to limit their technology in order to fulfill the 10 Commandments, right? So like we're not going to have a phone in the house because I'm going to want to talk to my friends and not go talk to my neighbors. Right? Mm-hmm. It actually keeps you grounded in like reality.
But as human goes, what they do now is they find ways to skirt around it, where it becomes just a strict law rather than the spirit of the law.
Right. And like I'm just saying intentional living is a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like some people I know of LCMS pastors, they don't have TVs in their homes. And you know what? That's a great thing. I'm glad that they're doing that because they think it's not the best practice for their family. And I support that. That's awesome.
And I actually had that moment where I wanted to throw my TV out the window last week.
Try after watching like 20 hours of Cocomelon, and you have these stupid songs running through your head, and you're man, I just want to like check the TV in the garbage. And you think I'm joking? I am not joking.
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, when you hear the tomorrow is the first day of school. Tomorrow is the first, and then it just keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, just like Lamb Chop, right? This is the song that doesn't end, right? Never ends, right?
Well, they understand catechesis.
Yeah, they do actually. So,
Where was I? Oh, because if you listen to the last show, It was all about getting dunked on, right? Because I was excited about.
I did not listen to the last show.
I know you didn't. That's why I'm informing you.
Why do you say that? Like, I listened.
Because I know you were busy.
I was busy.
Right. But tell me. You listen, to be honest, you listen when you know that you might be discussed.
Exactly. I do. I don't apologize for it.
No. I don't listen to the episodes I'm not on.
Do you listen to the ones that you are on?
A lot of them. Peter does. I must say, and I'm not 100% because I kind of lived it. But Peter could maybe throw some things in there that I maybe don't always aware of. What are your feelings, Peter? You're quiet.
Not aware of. Dude, you're in like every episode. What do you want from me?
That's what I'm saying. That was my point. I am in every episode. And even the one I wasn't in, we did
I want to say there's like 3 you haven't been in.
There was one.
There was one with Burns and I.
Okay.
And then there was, I want to say there was another one.
But even the one that with Burns and you, I was in.
Were you?
Yes. You don't remember this whole thing where you guys were in it and Peter and I did the director's cut?
Yeah, but that was the next episode. That was a different episode.
It was a thing.
I know it was a thing. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But
Grumble, grumble. Okay, so I'm sure they're sick of us talking about stuff. So we should probably move on to another section.
yes.
Yeah, we need to get into Vicar stuff.
Yeah, Vicar. Don't be boring. But we try to do this every year. We do a public service for pastors.
See, this should be called Vicar. Do that.
Right. So what we do is, because Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, right? Now, what we do here is we do the propers for Ash Wednesday, and then we do the Lenten series starting after that. Yeah. That's what we do. What did you used to do?
That's exactly right. Ah, the good old days.
Are you on the one series over there in Wyoming?
Yeah, they actually are. They also use the 1941 Catechism, so that's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Which hymnal do they use?
Both LSB and TLH. Mm-hmm. Just like I don't know if they do any ELH, but that's kind of what I did in Latimer. So
Well, it's nice that they have LSB so they can sing "To Jordan Came the Christ our Lord."
Boo.
So, getting off track. So,
Getting back on track.
back on track. We try to do a service for the pastors who, if they're kind of like me, probably don't have their Lenten stuff ready yet.
See, I thought you would have had it all done already.
Well, I have a vicar that does it for me.
You farm it out. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the whole idea is, well, you know that first year when you're a pastor, right?
So Vicar is like China, and you're like the U.S.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
Except China is in debt in this scenario. But
Well, China is in debt.
oh, okay. But the point is, because Vicar
America also pays China. Not that much.
here's the wisdom behind doing this for the podcast. Okay, because when you're a vicar and you're planning a midweek Lenten service, you put a lot of work into it. You think through everything very deeply. If you've been a pastor for 17 years, I mean, let's be honest.
You wing it.
Not, I mean,
kidding.
I remember one time I asked, what are you guys doing for Lent at the Winkle? It was like the week before Ash Wednesday one year. And like half of them were like, I don't know. And so
I wasn't one of those.
And the vicar, I actually had the vicar then say, okay, this is what Vicar's doing. And some of them used it.
That's awesome.
So this is for those pastors.
Do you think some of our senior members in the circuit listen to this?
No.
Oh.
But
Should we
the
send
one
it
of them
to
who
him?
hadn't had anything planned yet had a very large mustache.
Should we send him like a transcript of this?
No.
No. Oh.
Right. He wouldn't listen to it because we don't have letters.
Oh, burn.
Inside joke.
Well, I'm glad we're drinking tequila, which has aloe in it, right?
There you go.
because that was a burn.
And that
So
was
getting
terrible.
to our point,
Oh,
Vicar has really thought through in great detail his Lenten series. And the idea is when I do this for the Vicars is that first year when they're a pastor and everything's crazy and like, oh no, what am I going to do for Lent? What do they have?
it's true. The Lutheran Missal. No, you're right. I understand. I am completely
Boy, you're
behind you.
snarly today. Mailing it in.
Indeed.
His mind is on the barren lands of Wyoming.
Go west, young man. Okay, Vicar, you better save us from ourselves.
So, Vicar, tell us about what your Lenten plan so that the ill-prepared ADD pastor can do his work
Okay.
or do your work.
So I've heard it done before with the Lord's Prayer for a Lent sermon series, and I wanted to do my own version of it. So kind of doing this one from scratch. So I'm taking petitions from the Lord's Prayer each Lent midweek service, and we're actually going to say it during the service and the explanations responsively, and then I'm going to preach on it, and I've picked a text to go with each of the petitions that is a scene from Jesus' Passion.
Okay.
So
are we doing all of these at once, or are we doing these like
one a week,
one a week? Okay.
sometimes two. Like the first week, here's what I have for the first week, Lent 1. And this works good, I think, because do you recall what the text is for Ash Wednesday?
Is this gospel or Old
Gospel.
Testament? Okay. When you fast, do not be like those who.
And when you pray.
Yeah.
Is it? I thought it was, one of them was Matthew 6, Lord's Prayer, isn't it?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if traditionally it's that, but
Well, that would work out cool if it was, but I don't recall. Yeah, it is. It's Ash Wednesday's Matthew 6
it is.
in the one-year lectionary.
Let's see here.
The Gospel.
The gospel, not just a gospel. Yeah.
So, that's a good start, but the first week of Lent...
Yeah, but it
midweek-
doesn't have the Lord's Prayer in it.
No?
No.
1 through
6,
6.
16 through 21 is what I have, but maybe you have,
1 through 6, 16 through 21. Anyway, the first week of Lent, midweek, we're gonna say the introduction and the first petition. And the text that I have going with that is John 17, the high priestly prayer.
good.
So as Jesus is preparing for his journey to the cross, he's got his disciples, well, and us too, on his mind. But he's talking about these things that are also in the Lord's Prayer, manifesting his name to the people, things like that. And
Do you have a sermon outline or anything for the really lazy pastor?
no, I didn't bring that with.
Hi, he's got the sermon done, though.
Yeah.
Nice. No, I figured he did.
Yep. So that
So-
I've got a couple of these done, and some of them are still in the works. But
So
it's gonna be
uh,
a very baptismal sermon. Talking about with hallowed be thy name, our Father who art in heaven, and hallowed be thy name. So baptismal, being brought into the family of God, and then living that. So.
and what hymns do you have? Do you have that with you?
Right. So every week we're going to sing from Martin Luther's Our Father, who from heaven above, LSB 766.
Nice.
And we're only going to sing the petitions that go with that week. And the last one, stanza 9.
Vicar, you're too nice.
But it's going to build on it. So the first week we'll sing stanzas 1 and 2 and 9. The second week we'll sing 1, 2, 3, and 9. And
Okay,
so on
good.
And so forth. So they'll
Good work.
So, Berg, what would your favorite pastor that you just found out about a couple weeks ago say if people complain about singing all the verses? What would he say?
You ain't worth 15 cents. Sing 15 stanzas. Stop building your kingdom in the video room.
Yep.
Where you cut and paste my hit.
Boy, this really left a mark on you, right? You've been probably practicing memorizing at home.
But no, that's great, Vicar. You're doing a great job. And so what led you to choose the John text?
Oh, just I thought it would go well with the, especially the first petition, hallowed be thy name, because Jesus talks a lot about in that prayer how he did that, hallowed God's name for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And the second midweek is
Week number 2.
Thy kingdom come. And the text I picked for that is John 18:28 through 40, which is Jesus before Pilate. And
My kingdom is not of this world.
right,
Yeah.
he mentions the kingdom several times. He's
Yeah.
being interrogated. Are you king of the Jews?
Mm-hmm.
And Vicar's got a good little sermon for that already, talking about how we all want our kingdom, right?
In the video room.
That's right.
Yeah. We build our kingdoms, kingdom of healthcare,
Indeed.
kingdom, of education,
Kingdom of
the-
science.
And of Atrax.
and of Atrax.
Oh, wait.
So-
I missed that boat.
The
Sorry.
kingdom of the Freak Factory.
But it's a good time also to talk about that we live in two kingdoms, because that was a clash of two kingdoms right there.
Right.
Because you mentioned this, a lot of things that led up to Jesus' death were people trying to preserve their earthly kingdom.
And that's what actually the text for Sunday teaches us too, right? That he's handed over to the Gentiles, but they don't just kill him. They actually try him, right? I mean, even though they are wrong to do so, he is tried in a court of law, and Jesus submits to their judgment, to their verdict.
So I do mention that too. Also, fourth commandment, look at how Jesus is before the authorities of the kingdom of heaven. He's still respectful.
Yeah.
He still testifies to the truth.
I think the biggest issue is that the Sanhedrin, they weren't very diverse.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't woke enough. They needed a little more critical
Equity
race
and stuff.
theory.
All right. You're doing good, Vicar. I know we're annoying you, but you're doing good.
Yeah, it's nothing new though, right?
Poor Vickers. They have to put up with a lot of stuff.
The Vicar's getting annoyed. That's going to stop me, right?
So then the third week,
Week number 3.
the third petition, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So the reading is from, I haven't decided, it's either going to be Matthew 26, 36 through 46, or Mark 14, 32 through 42, but it's Jesus prays in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Oh, okay.
So he's definitely praying that, but thy will be done.
That's a no-brainer. What was a hymn for week 2? Did you tell us what you're kind of... Because there's someone writing this down
Right.
as we speak. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, what are we... What
Okay,
hymn?
so for week 1, I have the 766, Our Father, who from heaven above. Then the communion hymn, because we're doing a divine service, is 418, O Lord, throughout these 40 days. And then the closing hymn is 605, Father welcomes. So I want to keep playing on that baptismal theme.
Yep.
For the second week, with Thy Kingdom Come, our hymns are 766 again, with the appropriate stanzas. Communion hymn 420, Christ, the life of all the living. And the closing hymn 442, All glory, laud, and honor.
Mm-hmm.
Week 3,
Week number 3.
the hymns are 766 again, 758, The will of God is always best, and
Yeah.
436, Go to dark Gethsemane. And I also want to mention in that sermon Matthew 12:50, where Jesus says, whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time to talk about that.
All right.
Week number 4.
Number 4. You getting this down, people? All right.
Do we need to talk slower?
Right. Well, yeah, well...
Well, on your podcast, you can actually make it like
Right.
half speed. So
Do you know another reason why I like to do this on the podcast? This is a way if the vicar tries to steal from Concordia Pulpit resources, that they'll be sued.
that's right.
Copyright. All right.
Take that, CPH. Come after us.
At me, bro. What week are we on?
Week 4.
Week 4.
The fourth petition, give us this day our daily bread. So the text is Luke 22, 1 through 29, institution of the Lord's Supper. And the hymns are 766, 625, Lord Jesus Christ, life-giving bread, and 434, Lamb of God, pure and holy.
So, why that text, vicar?
Well, that's a good time to talk about not just the daily bread, the needs of our body, but the life-giving bread as well that Jesus brings for us in himself and in the Lord's Supper.
Because in many ways, the Lord's Prayer itself is a Eucharistic prayer. Wouldn't you say, Berg?
Some would say that.
Some have said that prayer was used as for the flow of a divine service back in the early church.
Yeah, I think Bernal Eckert, there's actually a whole debate on this online on the Gottesdienst podcast.
You know I'm all about the online debates.
Podcast? I mean, it was good, actually. Him and Stuckwish actually had some really good discussions about the placing of the Lord's Prayer. One great thing that I had never thought about before that they both kind of talked about is that when you pray the Lord's Prayer, like, you pray it, and it gets answered right away, right? God's kingdom comes, his name is hallowed, God's kingdom comes, his will is done, give us this day our daily bread, forgive us our trespasses because you're eating Jesus' body and blood, deliver us from evil, et cetera, right? I mean, so it's all like answered, so you pray this and then boom, it's done. That's why I don't like, what is it? Divine Service Setting 1 and 2, where they have that separate column where like you have the consecration and then it's like you got to do all this other junk before the distribution. It's like, come on, pray it before and then it's answered. Boom, you're done. So I don't like Divine Service Setting 1 either. It's like the Woody Woodpecker Mass. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna.
You are salty today, Bird.
So, there you go.
Fifth week.
Week 5.
Fifth petition, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And the sixth petition, and lead us not into temptation.
Vicar.
So, that week, the text is going to be Luke 23, verses 26 through 43, where Jesus forgives from the cross, and he forgives the thief on the cross. So both.
That's why we
are
don't
in
need to be baptized, right?
Was he baptized?
I know, I'm being salty, so go into your answer.
What is baptism other than dying with Christ?
Vicar.
Oh.
It's okay. Yeah. I mean, more than likely he was probably
Bird
circumcised.
just got dunked on.
Right? What it does show is that there is such a thing as, deathbed conversion, right?
Right.
So, but
Now if the thief on the cross had not been circumcised, then what?
I mean, more than likely he was a Jew.
Okay.
I mean, and who knows? He might have even been baptized by John.
You never know.
It's an argument from silence. But more than likely he was a Jew, and all Jews were circumcised.
And if there was a great earthquake and he fell off the cross
Ouch.
He could have.
and he ran away, what would we have done?
If you were crucified, you wouldn't be running away.
If you
were hobbling away,
he never rejected baptism.
He would have been saved.
Right? He didn't reject baptism. He would have been baptized.
So, absolutely. So,
It's a good time to also mention that sermon, Matthew chapter 4, Jesus' temptation in the wilderness.
our favorite.
Yep.
Which is the backwards. It is the opposite of the Lord's Prayer. Right?
Indeed.
Oh, and
Go into that. Quick.
Okay. So, what are the temptations that are offered?
Daily bread.
Daily bread, change these stones into bread.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Temptation.
Uh,
And evil. Well,
kingdom.
the kingdom, basically offering Jesus the kingdom without
For
a
thine is
cross.
the kingdom. Is that what you're getting at, or?
Well, thine is the kingdom. The devil offers him all the kingdoms of the world,
Of the earth. Yeah.
of the earth.
Yeah. No, I understand that one. It's but it's not backward because you got give us this day our daily bread, and then you got what? Or are you working backwards like give us this day our
No,
daily
I'm saying
bread,
that. I'm saying
thy
that.
will be done.
I'm saying that the
and-
temptations, not a numerical order.
Oh. Okay.
I am talking about it is the inverse.
See, that would actually be a really cool sermon because it'd be like it'd be like a satanic mass, like a black mass.
Right. He is offering Jesus.
Because
He's tempting Jesus with everything that is opposite of the Lord's Prayer.
see, that'd be a great wouldn't that be great? Your first paragraph could be about like Black Sabbath, not the band.
Mm-hmm.
But you could mention the band. Because actually, that's what you could do is start with, give us this day our daily bread, right? And the inverse of that, thy will be done, that you shouldn't tempt the Lord your God, and then thy kingdom come, because he offers in the kingdoms of the world. So boom, there you go, people. You got your sermon for Invocavit
Right.
done.
So how do you face temptation? With the Lord's Prayer.
Or just the word of God.
The Lord's Prayer
Ten
is
Commandments.
the Word of God.
Yeah, they're all the word of God.
And Jesus is actually the answer to every petition of the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
So,
Good work, Vicar.
You like this?
well, so the hymns for that Lent 5 would be 766.
Hymns for week number 5.
421, Jesus grant that balm and healing. And 843, forgive our sins as we forgive. And then I have a 7th petition left to do, so I'm going to do that on Good Friday. But deliver us from evil, which happens on the cross. So John 19, verses 1 through 42, the death of Jesus on the cross. And the hymns, 766 again, 453, upon the cross extended, 451, stricken, smitten, and afflicted.
Oh, not, O sorrow dread, our God is dead, upon the cross extended. O darkest woe.
I've got to make sure we can sing them here, that they'll know. So
See, if we just sang it on the podcast.
yeah.
That's what my mom keeps saying, if we just sang a hymn every time.
And you could do the conclusion on Easter morning, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever.
You could.
But we want to keep it scriptural.
But that's what, Henry VIII said, so. Oh. Good work, Vicar.
Good work. I know we tried to distract you a little bit. You did good. You powered through, didn't he, Peter? You powered through that,
That's right.
and you'll still talk to us when we're done.
Maybe.
Yep.
We'll see about that part.
All right, quick news that bothers Berg. We have to do this.
Bird.
Berg,
Berg.
don't go there.
Bird is the word?
Yeah. Because I think these work better in person. So, and Hannah's been sitting on this for what? 2 months, maybe. Yeah.
Poor Hannah.
So, what should Peter do?
Ask for donations.
There's fake news, there's real news, then there's real news that Berg wishes was fake. It's time to hear news that bothers Berg.
So, this was offered by Hannah. This is from January 17th, 2022. Probably just came out when Hannah emailed this to us. And it is, what is platonic life partnership? These couples are breaking societal relationship norms. So, Peter, you want to read this to us?
Not particularly, but I'll do it anyway.
You got this, Pete.
April, Lexi Lee, and Renee Wong have been best friends since they were 12. After supporting each other through the highs and lows of life, school, and boyfriends, they took their relationship to the next level by becoming platonic life partners. When Lee, 24, moved to from Singapore to Los Angeles for college, the best friends became long distance but remained emotionally strong. And as the pandemic hit, they both graduated, they felt this gravitation towards each other.
How you doing, Berg? You bothered yet?
I think it's hilarious. Keep going.
We work so well together. We're such great partners and support each other and love each other so much. We never see each other leaving each other, Lee explains. So why is this not a stable foundation to start life and start a family and all those things? Why is it not as stable, even more stable than traditional romantic marriage? Then it clicked. Wong moved to the United States and to become Lee's platonic life partner.
Wong move.
Keep going, please.
Nah, I just wanted to let that one sink in a little bit. I wasn't even interested in marriage to begin with. Neither of us were, Lee says. But then with each other, we suddenly saw a future, and we were like, this fits. I would do this with you. She describes the partnership as a deep platonic love and also a commitment to each other, like marriage, where we are trying to build the next step of our lives together. This includes things that typically married couples would do, like starting a family and having a joint bank account to achieve the goals of buying a house and more.
So, Berg, what are your feelings on this? Why do you think Hannah wanted how this would bother you?
I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, this is like what we call friends. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, like,
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're not sexually like
Well, the thing, what
Are
bothers
they-
me is
are they married?
the children aspect of it.
The what?
The children aspect. How are they going to have children?
Well, couldn't friends adopt and raise children? I mean, it's not exactly. I mean, the thing is, it's all screwed up anyway, right?
Right.
It is. Like, I mean, the way that we view marriage has been broken since the 1950s when, California said that there was no fault divorce. I mean, honestly, like, we've been screwed up for longer than my parents have been alive.
So you're saying you would prefer this over a bad marriage?
Well, the thing is that what I don't like is that they've sexualized it all. My platonic life partner, blah, 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 blah. It sounds gay. It does. It sounds gay. But it's not gay. What they're really talking about is friendship. And you know what? Friends should help you raise your children.
Mm-hmm.
They should.
Right.
Right? I mean, like, you look at the descriptions of David and Jonathan, and I've had parishioners ask me, if they were,
Yeah.
right? I mean, but that's the thing is that, you want your friends involved in child rearing.
Right.
If they're real friends, right? We've just forgotten what it means to be.
But what about how see, I think though there's a problem with this is the fact that, one, if biologically it's set up by God for us to have a father and mother, and have a child.
What I'm saying is like, does it surprise me? No. Is it the way it's supposed to be? Probably not. I mean, really, what they should be doing is getting married and then sharing the duties between themselves, right, with the raising of children.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
I mean, we always say it takes a village. Well, we don't actually believe that. Right?
Right.
Unless it's the government.
So there are some things you like, other things you don't like.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? These two people are friends, and that's a wonderful thing. The problem is it's the way that it's described is in sexual terms.
Right.
Only they say we're sexual partners, but we're not really sexual.
But don't you
Which
think
just means
it's
friends.
It is, in a way, a same-sex marriage just without the sex?
There's no such thing.
You don't think?
No, I don't. It's like calling it a bromance, right? What people really mean is that these people are friends. Now, have these people ever been taught what friends really are? Probably not. Have they ever been taught what marriage is? Probably not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they recognize what friendship is, that they are on the same level, that they're walking shoulder to shoulder with their eyes focused on a goal. And that's a good thing, and I can rejoice in that.
Right.
But the problem is that they're all screwed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't understand what marriage is. They don't understand what eros is. And,
I have a question. What does Plato have to do with it?
well, this comes from Plato's Symposia, his dialogue on friendship, right? And not just friendship, but more of a kind of a platonic, non-sexual love. And it's kind of gross because it actually has to do with homosexuality and that sort of thing. So,
I appreciate
gross, but-
real answer there, Berg, even though, and I'm sure you knew this, he said Play-Doh.
No, I saw the Platonic, and I knew if I mentioned Plato, because I have no idea what Plato has to do with Platonic, I know he would know.
Oh, okay.
Anyone in my life would know that. So
I just figured that.
I was just gleaning that information out of
the
it.
T
Because I know,
turned
I look
into
at
a D.
Vicar, he would not know. Right?
Nope.
Do you know, Peter? Who would know?
Well, the
Berg
one
would know.
person. Okay.
Platonic, right? I was showing off. I was showing off my co-host here that Berg would actually know what Plato has to do with this. Okay? That's what I was doing. Anyways,
You okay?
I'm offended. I'm good.
So, I mean,
Continue on, my friend. I'm not moving in with you.
as long as there's a joint bank account.
So
But-
they're roommates with the legal status of being married.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. 20 years ago, like with Full House and all that stuff, I mean, you could have, friends and relatives living in the same house, right? I mean, isn't that the whole thing of Full House,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where Joey, who's a friend, lives in the basement, and the brother-in-law lives upstairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like this up until about 20 years ago. This
Laverne
wasn't.
and Shirley.
I'm sorry, I don't know that.
You know who Laverne and Shirley is? Anybody?
I'm sorry.
You've never watched Laverne and Shirley?
Vicar. Okay,
Schlemiel,
good.
Flago, Haas and Pfeffer Corporated. Anybody?
I'm sorry.
I messed up those words. They worked at a brewery in Milwaukee.
Well, I've seen the intro, but I've never watched an actual episode.
Shirley was one of my first childhood crushes.
That doesn't surprise me.
And they worked at a brewery.
That's
Lenny
awesome.
and Squeaky? You don't remember Lenny and Squeaky? They were platonic friends.
So,
Were Bert
yes.
and Ernie platonic friends?
Yes. I think they were brothers.
Oh.
Right?
I don't know.
I want to say they were brothers. I'm going to say they're brothers.
Peter's on this.
So,
I'm just kidding. All
So,
right.
You guys
Anyway,
really
we
are
need
trying to
to-
record 2 episodes today, huh?
Right. We got one more. It's going to be amazing.
my
It's
gosh.
going to be rad.
all right. So,
All right. Thank you for listening. I'm Bullhagen.
I'm Berg.
And I'm Vicar.
And may your friendship
Be platonic.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? You can contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/Clerical Errors Podcast, on Twitter at Clerical Errors P for podcast, or email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors. See you next time.